I am back from holiday. Apologies, I've got a bit of a croaky throat because obviously I had to be the one that caught something on the plane back. But I'm going to talk a little bit about my holidays because I have lots of questions. I'll go through that and then I'll show you the pile. Sneak peek. Those are the 12 and a bit meters of fabric I purchased whilst I was away. What I also do is I talk about my holiday. I'll put in lots of photos of the bits because I took like 500 photos, which doesn't seem much for 3 weeks, but we had an excellent time in Australia. So we started our adventure by flying to Singapore. We did this to break up the flight to Perth because it's a long journey. So we're really glad to do that. Singapore, if you've ever thought about going, is really nice. We'd heard great things. It'd never been on my radar at all to visit, but we're glad we have. It's a really nice city. Everyone said clean. I get you. It's clean. They really care about their city. The country so we did a cycle tour on our second day there. We had 2 full days. We arrived quite late, about 4 o'clock on the Sunday. So we did a cycle tour on the Tuesday. So we enjoy doing that when we go places. If there's a cycle tour option, we like going around because you get to see so much more. And the tour guide was really great. By doing that, we got a better idea of what it's like to live there, rather than just wandering around ourselves and trying to assume stuff and chat to people. Actually having a tour guide who was local, had lived there all his life, and he's 3rd generation. He was Chinese Singapore, and yeah, it was really interesting actually. So we learned things about you have to have a license to buy a car. You have to have a license to buy a dog and own a dog, and you pay more for a big dog. So things that we hadn't considered because we didn't see that many dogs there. We saw a few, mostly small dogs, and now we have that context. We understand why. So on our first full day, we did lots of walking. We went to Gardens by the Bay. It's like the #1 thing everyone recommends, and it's totally worth it. It's beautiful down by the marina. Loads of green. We're not the most green-fingered people, but you can walk around the main gardens, and then there's a couple of domes. There's the Cloud Forest and I'm going to say Flower Dome. So we went to both, and in the Flower Dome we did first. There was also a Monet exhibition that was finishing the next day, so I was really glad to see that because it's a really immersive experience. It was like digital meets floral, and there was loads of stuff about the artist from the Renaissance kind of period, and which I didn't know much about. I enjoy my art, so it was really interesting, and then some interpretations, and yeah, it was really nice. And just walking around all the different plants and things, and then the cloud dome in the centerpiece is like a giant sculpture with just plants all down it. You've probably seen an image at some point, and it's got a waterfall that comes down, and it's amazing to be there. And there's walkways that go round. I'm not good with heights. I went up. I had to do one walkway to come down, and I basically just walked down with my hand on the rail, going round people, just kind of briefly looking at the sides, but I couldn't. I walked around and then took the escalators down. My husband did the next little walkway bit. He enjoyed it. He was fine. I left him to it and just met him further down. But it was an incredible place. Yeah, beautiful sceneries. Hopefully you're looking at the pictures as I talk of everything that's there, and a few sculptures as well, which is cool, just making it more interesting. So I think there was like lions and lemurs. I think I saw a squirrel at one point and some snails in the water, and yeah, it's just a really amazing kind of botanical place. So recommend there. We went to the Art Science Museum, and there is a really cool interactive digital thing exhibition there. We did some colouring, and in theory you coloured in an aeroplane or a butterfly, and then you gave it to one of the colleagues there, and then it would appear on this wall, and it was quite cool. We never saw ours appeared, but we saw some of the other people's drawings appear on the wall. So we enjoyed the museum. We enjoyed walking through the shopping centres where they had aircon because it was very hot there as well. It was early 30s, but it was muggy. So walking through the shopping centre, which was in the right direction of where we were going, we'd just cut through and do that. Yeah, that was delightful. And we got round on the metro system, which was really easy. We had one that was a couple of minutes from our hotel. It just made it so easy to get around. We went down to Chinatown one evening, and yeah, that was a couple of stops for us. And then, yeah, so the second day we did a cycle tour, which was the morning, and that was really good fun. There was about 8 of us, and we saw, having spent the day walking around on the Monday, we saw things that Chinatown was the only thing we had seen before. Everything else was new to us. So we saw the town hall where a lot of people get married. We saw the Formula 1 pit stop, which was still fenced off, so we couldn't cycle along at that time. But we know a friend in Formula 1, so that was quite cool to see that pit. And there was just a lot of context for other things we'd seen, like the Merlion. Talked about the Marina Hotel. I can't think what it's called, but here's the picture. And we cycled through a shopping centre, and that was allowed. That, for me, as a person who enjoys cycling, was very cool. And there were, yeah, loads of things we saw in context, so very worthwhile. So after 2 days there, we had an early start on the Wednesday to travel to Perth, which is the main reason we're going. We're going for our friend's wedding on the Saturday. Before then, we had a couple of days to hang around. So we had to go grab some stuff from my husband because he didn't pack anything for the wedding. He was going to pick stuff there. So we went shopping for a bit, and then we went to Fremantle or Frio. And my husband lived in Australia for a year, back in about 2010-ish, 2010, 2011. So we went round, saw a few places where he worked. He worked in a few cafes and a few places where he lived and hung out and stuff. So that was really nice. We had food by the water, went for little walks. And then what else did we do? I made some notes. Yeah, I went to Frio, which was a really nice place. He said I'd like it, and I did. Got a book from there. There's loads of second-hand bookshops, which was really cool, but I had to restrain myself. The wedding was on Saturday. We had a lovely day. It was sunny. It was hot, but just that kind of borderline before it being too hot. The bride and her daughter and mother-in-law came in on a Cinderella carriage, which was like horse-drawn carriage, which is magnificent. I didn't expect it, but I know little one really enjoyed it. I asked her about it. They had a really nice day. It was just north of the city in the winery areas, and it's just a really nice venue. So it's nice to see them. And the day after, we went to Rottnest Island, which is a few miles off the coast of Perth, and we took bikes and cycled around, and we did that with my brother-in-law, who was also there for the wedding. It was the only day we had with him to catch up. And that was really interesting. There's a very sad, horrible history to the island. But the whole island is just surrounded by white beaches. So we were just kind of like, oh, what's here? A white beach. Okay, what's here? A white sandy beach. Okay, so we stopped at one further round where it was a bit quieter from tourists, and we did some sunbathing, did some paddling, and brother did some snorkeling. We forgot to pick up our snorkeling stuff, and then we carried on cycling round. And it's an island. It may seem flat, but it's not. It's a little bit hilly, so I enjoyed it. I love the challenge of swoopy hills. They're my thing. So even then, I had to take my time, but it was really fun. I enjoyed Rottnest, and I did look into the history more afterwards, just to educate myself about it. But some quite horrible things did happen there. That's worth looking into. And then I'm looking down at my notes to remember what we did. After that, we headed south. We went to Margaret River, and my husband describes it as where the artists from Perth go. And yeah, Puri was a much smaller town that's been it's grown a little bit. It's a little bit touristy, but not too much. I really enjoyed there. We could have spent an extra day there. It's just got a nice little high street with some independent places on. We hired bikes, and there's loads of mountain biking around there. I'm not a mountain biker. I'm a tourer, adventurer, road kind of person, not mountain biking. I don't do the technical, but we did do the railway. It used to be a railway line, they converted it. We have loads of them in the UK. So we did that. We went south for a bit and then we went north. And had a picnic and stopped at a cafe. The bike hire place was great. He gave so much advice and like top tips on the trail. And then we spent another day. We got up at 7 to go paddleboarding at 7:30 because we were a 10-minute walk from the beach. We were down at Preverley, which again, the studio we were in was definitely decorated by an artist because the tiles in the bathroom were all kind of like hand painted. Very unique, and we could see the beach from our little studio. So we did the stand-up paddleboarding. I didn't do much standing just because the waters were a bit choppy and I did not feel confident in the sea doing it for the first time. But it was just us and the instructor, and we were out there for at least an hour, and we're watching some of the surfers, and yeah, really fun. So just a nice way to start the day, and then had breakfast at the cafe that overlooked the beach. And then we headed to Albany, which is directly on the south coast. So we headed east from there. Albany's a much bigger town than Margaret River, but there was less to do for us. So we'd rather have spent an extra day in Margaret River, but we did lots of walking around. We were 2 minutes from the beach again, but this was some proper chill time. We walked up to the Asnac Centre, which is at the top of the hill from where we were, so we had a nice stomp up there. We did go down to the beach one evening when the planets were all being aligned up, and we actually saw the sunset. So there's a boardwalk that goes round, so we walked along there and we're looking out for the planets. So I think we saw all the ones that you could see visible to the eye. So we found a really good standpoint to see the most of the sky we could. And then we headed back to Perth, which was one long straight road. At one point our car just said next turn in 200 kilometres. It was a long drive, but it was fine. We had plenty of podcasts to keep us entertained. And then back in Perth we saw our friends again for dinner and hung out. We spent a day walking around in the central Perth because we hadn't done that. We were staying on the outskirts in the suburbs, which was really nice and quiet, but plenty of shops and near our friend as well. So we actually spent our final full day in Perth walking around. We did an escape room. It was loads of fun, a murder mystery, 1920s. We had to solve the murder mystery. We did it in 49 minutes. Quite proud for a team of 2. But our penultimate day was the day I want to talk to you about now, and that's all the fabric that I bought in Perth. So when I knew I was going to Perth, Laila, I'm going to put her Instagram handle here because I can't remember it off the top of my head. She told me about loads of shops on a previous session, and so I was like, right, okay, I need to remember all these. And then just talking away, we decided to hang out for a day, and Laila made a vague plan to go to a shop near me, which she'd just heard about, where I was staying, in Wyndham, Booragoon kind of area. It's where our friends are based. So she found out about shop, and then we'll go to Spotlight, which for the UK I can probably describe as the range, but with the biggest fabric craft section you ever come across. Then we went for food. Then we did another shop. We were going to do Calico and Ivy, but we changed it up to Pottery & Co. And then went to Cottesloe Beach and met my husband for a cup of tea and a chat. And that was our day. So yeah, Laila's been to a few sessions, but being in Perth, the timings aren't always great, but hoping in the next few months to change that so that it might be a bit more accessible for people in Australia, but we'll see. Let's have a look at the fabrics. So the first shop we went to was Woven Stories. It's not one Laila had heard of. It wasn't one that I'd even clicked when I was in Perth. It was round the corner from me, which is probably a good thing that I didn't discover it until Laila mentioned it. So they do printed fabrics, so kind of Indian block printing, screen printed fabrics that are very unique. It's not the kind of thing that you find often in the UK, I don't think. So I decided to buy more than I should have planned for. I bought one piece online, and Liz, who owns the company, was great. So you can put in a little discount code to pick up if you're local. So I did that and said, are you around on the Tuesday so I can come and pick it up with my friend and have a nosy? And she was great and was like, yeah. And so this was the piece that I bought online. I went for something with some pinks in just to change up what I normally do. So greens and blues are very normal for me. But I just thought this was lovely. I went to go and find it on the website afterwards, and it had sold out, so it wasn't actually on there, so I panicked slightly because I couldn't remember what I'd ordered. But I'm really pleased with that. So I got 3 meters, I think. Oh gosh, I can't remember. But I just a lot of the fabrics aren't very wide, so they tend to be 108 or 112. So really kind of I'm gonna have a think about what I'm gonna do. So maybe a nice it's probably going to be a shirt, that's what I'll say for everything. A Cali shirt maybe, or the Jenna. I do like the Jenna. So yeah, that was the only thing I purchased online, and that I think was $20, maybe £10. That was the rough guidance for currency at times, about half. So yeah, that's what I bought, and then we turned up and then I bought more. We were there like an hour and 20 minutes because we were just chatting away with Liz, Laila especially, talking about the local community and things like that. So it was really nice to hear. Have a look at the patterns she had in stock. So she had style arc, paper cut patterns, I think, paper theory, no, paper cut, and a couple of others. I can't quite remember them all. So I had a look through there. I decided to try and do something different that I wouldn't necessarily buy, but knowing that I couldn't get the prints in the UK, I went for another floral. I decided to go for something dark because all my shirts and tops tend to be quite light or colourful, so I went for a nice black, but floral. Again, I think I got 3 meters of that because of the width. Again, maybe a shirt or something similar. And then there was a remnants box, so I just kept perusing, and I picked out originally something that was a bit more teal, a bit too similar to the first fabric. So I actually picked out this instead. So it had navy, which is very me. You can see it's got some dodgy prints, but it's fine. So there's a metre and a 1.8 metres of this, because I just thought it's something different, but I quite liked it. There we go, 1.8, and that's by 110, so $30, £15. So yeah, I really like that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one yet, but they're really nice cottons. It was really nice talking to Liz about the linens that she had in stock as well. She's really good at helping Laila find some fabric for a pattern, suggesting a pattern. So do go and have a look at Woven Stories. The shipping to the UK is $30, about £15. But if you're in Australia, yes, very worth going to see them because some really beautiful prints. Just have a look through the website and you'll see loads of stuff. But Liz was fantastic and fascinating to talk to. Go give her a follow because I think she's going to be releasing something interesting. So from there we went to Spotlight. I avoided going to Spotlight before Laila took me because, yeah, I didn't want to spoil the surprise, didn't need anything else from there. And I wasn't sure what to expect. I had a little nosy online before we went, but yeah, the best way I can describe it to people in the UK is it's a bit like the range. So there's homewares, there's lots of departments, you can get cushions and pans, all sorts of random bits. But we walked around the corner and I was like, oh, there's loads of quilting stuff, you can see machines, and walk around the corner and there's loads of aisles of fabric, and it felt a little bit like fabric land, and that it's not the highest quality, some of it, but then there are some nicer bits amongst it. You've just got to find the good stuff. And then I realised there was a whole nother aisle of stuff. Like, I'm going to put the video up so you can see me walking around. It's just how much stuff was there. But having had a look online, I thought I wasn't going to buy anything from here. However, I spotted one thing which really piqued my interest. I had a quick look at some usual shops that I might buy in the UK and couldn't quite find what I was after, so I decided to buy 3 half meters of some quilting fabric. My friends just had a little girl, just as I got back to the UK, and so I brought some Hungry Caterpillar themed fabric, which I thought was just too cute. So I'm going to do a little bit of quilting at some point soon. So they had 3 different patterns, and then this final one, open it up a bit as you can see. If you're a Hungry Caterpillar fan, it was just delightful. So I'll get some white and maybe some green, or I'll pick out some colours to kind of decide what to do, but I'll keep it simple so you can see as much of the print as possible. So yeah, that was from Spotlight. Laila got a couple of bits from there as well, and chatting to the lady at the till, she's originally from the UK as well. That seems to happen quite a lot going around Perth. So originally we were going to go to Calico and Ivy, which was north in Perth, but then having discussions with Liz, she gets her linens in from Pottery & Co, and they were vaguely on my radar. I'd just forgotten about them, so we decided to go there instead of Calico and Ivy to have a look at theirs. So they're a wholesaler, but you can go in and buy stuff, so they have a very simple shop with just some like samples out. And knowing them before, I told myself I was allowed to buy some linen. I hadn't bought linen so far. So it's just some really beautiful fabrics, and so I've got some linen. I think I just got 2 meters because this was wider. I think that shows the colour quite nicely. It's a nice forest green. I think it's called Pine, the colour. But the samples are actually called Lulu. So this particular range of linens is called Lulu. And Moss, my dog, was staying with a friend, and one of the other dogs there was called Lulu. So fate. So yes, I can't remember why I wanted linen. I didn't write down why I was going to buy linen, what project, but yeah, I've got some very basic colours, so green is adding to the palette, so it's really nice and soft, really nice quality one. There are a few there that I was a bit suspect of. I couldn't not buy this, so this was part silk, part something else, and I can't remember what. I'll double check. So I just bought a meter of this, but it's so soft, so I might make something like an Ogden cami or something similar. Just because it was just so nice. It's quite light, but coming into summer, I think it's going to be, there'll be something I can make with a meter, because I think it's quite wide, 138 I think. And it's just really beautifully soft, and they only had 3 colours. The other colours were a pale pink that was almost, it was skin colour, and yeah, there was like a Caucasian colour, and then like a baby pink kind of colour, but it didn't work well, whereas blue, I think that's quite good. That's the last of the fabric purchases. One other thing I spotted when I was at Pottery & Co was some labels, which I hadn't intended to, but just having a look, I spotted these, and you'll see that, yeah, I just love the fact it said celebrate small wins, which I'm all about, and also good enough is perfect. And I just, they spoke to me. So I've got those for the collection. And that's everything. Bought a book whilst I was away. Bought a notebook. Didn't mean to, but I actually borrowed a notebook. Yeah, that's my haul. Who knows what I end up making? Some quilting, some shirts. But yeah, I was allowed to buy that. I'm not doing lasso standing, but most definitely I'm not buying anything else. So we'll see. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed having a nosy, listening about my holiday and all that. Apologies for the croakiness, but hopefully I'll see you on a session soon, and you might see me sewing some of that up. Have a good day.